At least you laughed. It was good tempo today, good enthusiasm. I thought that the guys, they looked a little fresher because you get Sunday, Monday off, and you come back and get to practice on Tuesday. So I thought there was a good tempo. Guys get their legs back and tried to work on a lot of fundamentals, blocking and tackling, and a couple phases of special teams today, and a couple opponents that we're going to play in the future that do some things that are just different, and try to expose our guys to it. And I thought the guys had a really good attitude and good juice. So hopefully going to get some guys back from injury and get them back out there working. If you anybody want to ask about specifically, that's fine, but I don't know who you'd be asking about. So
Trayvon and Cager.
Trayvon he's not able to go yet. We think he's going to be cleared probably by Monday. He's out there running around, exercising, doing things. He's just not able to go in contact. With Cager still be week to week. He's not practicing right now, but he's out there at practice. He's conditioning and running. He's just not practicing. And then Tyson Campbell, I thought, was the best he's been in a long time. I mean, he practiced for the first time and did things. He just didn't. We didn't put him in there with the ones and quite as fast. We tried to slow it down for him some, but he did practice.
Schaefer.
Yeah, Schaefer's still out right now.
How important has Cager proven to be because of his experience and his height?
Well, I mean, he's been a good player for us. I mean, he's been, like Javon Wims, he's been an impact player for sure. But he's probably been more of an impact on that room. We carried him, I guess it was last week, to the Kentucky game. We took him over and used him to use experience with the other guys. I mean, we want him around, is what I'm saying, so that even though we knew he wasn't going to play against Kentucky, he was still in the room, impacting those guys. He's just very mature, and he's played a lot of football in his career, and he has a positive impact on those other guys in that room. So he's been good.
Is that stuff like getting off press coverage and all that stuff, is that stuff that does come with experience, and Lawrence has that from his Miami days, and your other guys like George and Dominic are catching up?
Well, I mean, you get better when you play, certainly. I think some guys come in and they get off press really well. If they're really, really talented, they're good at it. I think that's something that experience brings value. Lawrence has a lot of experience. He's been around a lot of good wideouts. When he played at Miami, he's physically stronger and bigger than a lot of other guys. So he's able to use his body to help him against those press guys. And everybody's still working to improve that. I mean, shoot, we're working at defensive back to try to press better so that we can compete and do a better job defensively. So, I mean, everybody's trying to get better at it. Cager is a great example of how to do that because he's done it for a long time.
What would you say the odds of Tyson Campbell being able to get back are, and if he is, would he be able to get in and play at a high level, SEC level right away?
I don't think there's any way I can answer that. I mean, I haven't watched today's practice, and to put the odds on it, there's no way. I mean, I ask every day the medical staff when's he going to be back, just like you guys do. And I was very encouraged today, and it was coming, the time off has helped, but his repetitions helped. So he got back out there. He's very mentally, he's into the practice. He always has a sheet of paper. He's always watching the script. But there's nothing like the speed of the game, and that's important. So, I mean, he'd have to be going 100% by next week to be able to play, and we face Tuesday.
This has always traditionally been one of your bye weeks coming up before the Florida game. I guess just number one, is that a good time for you? You like having it now before such a big contest?
Like I said before, I don't know. Bye weeks fall where they fall. I never get into, well, that's great, it falls there, it doesn't fall there. I think the SEC does a good job of balancing that out. You look at the big games, and teams have off weeks before each other a lot of times, and I'm sure they try to do that to not create a competitive advantage. But I mean, it falls at a good time for us because we are beat up, but who's not?
You obviously you have very little control of schedules, but when you look down at your November, it seems pretty evident that you guys got a real gauntlet there to the end of the season. Can you just talk about your November challenge?
Yeah, there's a lot of good teams on that schedule. I think everybody in the SEC's got basically the same schedule other than their crossovers. So we embrace that. We've known that for a long time. It's like all off season we've worked to be a 3-part season. There's part 1, part 2 in the middle, and then part 3 was going to be the meat and potatoes. So we've known that, and we're building up this week to work on it and trying to look at a lot of different opponent tape to figure out what other people are doing to us and what other people are doing defensively and offensively to get better.
There was a couple reports out that they're close to finalizing an extension on Jacksonville. Greg McGarity says there are ongoing discussions. Are you in any part of these discussions, or have you said your piece and done with that now?
All I can say is there's ongoing discussions. I'm be dead honest with you. I am focused on our team, making sure our team is trying to improve and get better in every facet of it. And that's my single-minded focus. It's not single-minded focus on Florida. It's not single-minded focus on Jacksonville. It's single-minded focus on us. And we're all trying to go to the doctor right now.
It seems like you guys had success running to the outside, especially in the second half against Kentucky. Like, what does that say about the blocking abilities of your tight ends and receivers and how far they've come maybe since the start of the season?
Well, they block well on the inside runs too. I mean, those guys have to block every assignment. So when we opened the game with an outside zone play that was successful, but I think you'd be misspoken if I think sometimes the outside world thinks what an outside run is and what an outside run actually is two different things. So obviously, if a play works, then we're going to try to repeat that play. I mean, that would be not very smart to not repeat that play. But we also have certain things we have to do to keep play action involved, to keep balance in our offense. So the outside zone the other night was most effective later in the game. You have to ask yourself, was the outside zone most effective later in the game because you chopped wood early in the game? And you're always trying to keep the defense off balance. We ran some swipe plays, some perimeter plays, and some work, some don't. And sometimes they don't work because people don't block right. Sometimes they don't work because the defense is in there, and we're trying to run the plays that work.
I was talking to Andrew after the game, and he was talking about how when you guys started to have that success outside, it was almost like Kentucky's defensive linemen stopped anchoring at the point of attack so much. As from a defensive perspective, how much does it loosen you up when teams are kind of gashing you outside the tackles and out on the perimeter?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it loosens you up when you have to go against our offensive line repeatedly for 4 quarters. I mean, it just honestly, it just wears you down. There were a lot of plays that were called in the 3rd and 4th quarter that were successful. I mean, there were some good inside zone plays that were there was more movement in general. But I've said it here for 4 years, you don't walk in the SEC and just move people early in the game. It just doesn't happen. You're not just road grading folks out of there. It's a cumulative effect that it takes. And we certainly had a cumulative effect because we ran it better later than earlier.
Kirby, I don't know if we've asked you what Sean Watson's kind of role in your organization is, and I assume you have an open date without an opponent to prepare for that. Maybe you all, no matter what aspect of your team, have more chance to look at, hey, what can we do more in this area or that area? Can you answer that?
You lost me there. Is that 2-part question?
Yes.
You're asking about Sean. What his
Sean,
role
and
was.
also, I guess, with offense, do you guys look at things, you don't have an opponent, you can maybe dive into some more stuff than regular game week?
Well, I was just saying earlier that in the off week, we look at all our future opponents and we look at ourselves. So you do self-scout, you do your opponent's work, and you say, what do they do that creates an issue? And then you also look and say, what's been successful that we might be able to emulate with our personnel. So there's like 3 parts of that. But Sean's a big part of that. He has replaced Jay, who did a great job last year for us. He's very involved as far as advanced scouting, we call it, looking at opponents ahead of time, both defensively and offensively. He gives our defense an analysis of each opponent, their offense. So he's looking at Kentucky's offense and telling us what he thinks on Sunday night. It's just advanced work, but he's primarily with the offense and looking at things and just an extra set of eyes to look at different ideas, things he's done. He's got a lot of experience and has been a part of a lot of successful quarterbacks and offenses. So we use that as an asset. But we got several guys that do those things.
In terms of your offensive line, how reliable is it, I guess, to have the experience of Andrew Thomas at left tackle, Isaiah Wilson at right tackle with pass protection and leadership and all of those qualities that they have and bring?
You looking for a number? You're looking for, it's super valuable. I can't put a price tag on it. When you line up with 2 tackles in this league that have played, you're very fortunate because tackles are hard to come by and good ones are really hard to come by. Do the math. How many 6'6" guys are walking around? It's just not a lot. 6'6", 300 that can move. very few. So I mean, it's hard to find guys like that. We have been blessed, and Sam has done a great job recruiting to get those guys. And I mean, they're not perfect either. They have to go against really good players, but I'm very pleased with those guys, and they are great competitors and they're good leaders.
What are some of the challenges that Trey Hill continues to kind of work through right now as a center?
Well, I thought the other night he did a tremendous job in those conditions to not really have. I mean, you think about it, he really didn't have a bad snap. I mean, Jake missed the one that was probably head high, but Jake would tell you it wasn't a bad snap. So I thought that was big when you talk about that game in those conditions. Both centers really did a good job. Trey knows his warts. He's got to work hard. He's got to strain hard. He's got to continue to fight. I mean, he was on a tough guy to block the other night, and we left him singled a lot, and that guy played well. But Trey, I thought in the end, won out on a lot of perimeter run blocks, and he was very, very athletic getting to the second level. But Trey will be the first to tell you he's got to play better too, and he'll do that.
And then in terms of the bye week, I know you felt like get a similar question, I suppose, every year, every bye week. But in terms of working on yourself, I mean, how do you go about that differently than in a game week? What type of things do you want to like check off a list, and then also do you kind of go through a mid-season evaluation type of thing at all?
Well, we do statistically, we do schematically, and we do professionally, because we're trying to find, hey, what complements something we're doing well. So let's say that we're doing something good in the red zone. We're going to try to find something to complement that, because people are going to try to attack you on what you've done as your strength. And we meet in the mornings for 2 to 3 hours. We have quality control guys come in and give presentations. This is what so-and-so's doing. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. And they might not fit us, but they might. And we try to use those things. And then same thing for me. I'm looking at the quality control of the offense, quality control of the defense. What's been the most successful run versus what front? What front have we struggled the most against? And I'm looking at it from a defensive coach to say, what is Todd Grantham? What is Kevin Steele? What is the next guy going to do to stop us? So what are our answers?
As you guys continue to sort of recruit nationally and do that more and more and sort of try to get that national brand, national exposure, do you maybe change or refocus how you sort of choose to recruit the state of Georgia and Furman over time?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I would never change how we recruit the state of Georgia. His home base, his primary is number one, most important. That doesn't mean we're going to get every kid. Doesn't mean that. I mean, there's some good players in the state that have left, and we fought to get them. But I mean, I want the best players in the state to stay home. We will never change how we recruit the state of Georgia. Why would you ever do that? I mean, there's too many good players here.
Kirby, do you address with your players the fans that were booing the other night in terms of, I'm not sure how used to that they are at a home game?
Nah, I don't really address it. I mean, I'm sure they're aware of it, but our kids are pretty mature. I mean, I don't think it's something that you address or talk about. They know they're not really booing at them, so I mean, the players are not upset or hurt by it. I mean, if they are, then that's their opinion. But we don't let outside forces control what we do inside, and that's just belief that I've had for a long time. I've been around a lot of good coaches, and the first game I've been in that somebody booed, and it won't be the last. So we try to control what we can control, and our message to our team is let's go out and get better. And our kids, they adhere to that.
You mentioned the self-scouting in the bye weeks. What is that self-scouting report looking like this bye week as compared to the earlier one?
Has some different things in it. One, you get weather conditions involved in that, where like certain numbers run pops up way higher because we had a game where we ran the ball a lot more, and they also ran it more on us when it comes to Kentucky. So those numbers sometimes get skewed. You look at formation tendencies, you look at different things that can complement what you're doing. So how's it looking? We have run efficiency stats that we look at, and you can look at NCAA.com and get those same stats. But we're looking at it more in detail of what specific front it was versus. Nobody else looks at that. They just look at, well, did he have a successful play? Did he get 10 yards? Did he not get 10 yards? That's not what we're looking at. We're looking to see what was the reason why it worked or it didn't work.
Coach, going in a different direction, you have the guys suit up, I guess, for the dog walk and all that. And, why do you do that? And do you see that they enjoy, trying to outdo each other when they dress up? You set certain.
No, I don't think they try to outdo each other. I just think it's important because it creates a tone and a demeanor of this is different. If I dress like I do every day, then I'm just going to practice. If I have to go put something on. We don't really put suits on. We don't require them to do that, but we want them to dress appropriately. And I think professionally, it would have helped me if I'd done that more often, getting out of college. And you want to be able to present yourself to an employer one day the right way. And I think it's important to parents in recruiting that their kids are going to learn how to present themselves to an employer and do it the right way. And that's why we do it.
Two more questions. Is there anyone whose fashion has impressed you?
I'll be honest with you, I really don't. I try not to pay attention to it. I know they got some mean shoe game. They all love the shoe game because they don't want to wear dress shoes. They want to wear comfortable shoes. So Swift and Mark Webb, the Philly guys, always have some loud shoes.
Your defense is put up some pretty impressive numbers to this point. Are they playing as well as it looks like? And you've
No.
had some no. So that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, what's
No,
your-
not close. Extremely sloppy in the last game, and it's sad because you guys control the noise. But when you watch that tape, there's a lot more concern. Tackling, gap fits. If you went to a coach and said, "Watch this game," they would come in and say, "That is atrocious." Tackling, fits, eye discipline, leverage, blockers, but walking around, whistling by the graveyard that everything's fine and we're just okay and we got good defensive numbers, and that's not the case when you watch the true integrity of it. You can't judge it based on number one statistics. You can't judge it based on a kid, playing in the pouring down rain that's not a quarterback. So, we haven't been tested in that regard, and we got to get better, and that's what we're doing this week.
Thank you.